So what if you could have a full-time employee who never sleeps, never takes a break, and just handles all those tedious digital tasks for you with perfect precision? Well, today we're diving into an incredible project that's trying to do exactly that. A local-first AI-driven automation system that acts as your very own digital employee.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You've got an inbox that's just overflowing with files, a desktop that's a total mess of documents, and a to-do list that feels like it's a mile long. It's this constant battle just to stay organized. But what if you could just automate all that chaos?
And that is where this whole concept comes in, the Digital FTE, which stands for full-time equivalent. Now, we're not talking about some simple script here. This is a really ambitious framework for an AI agent that works for you, around the clock, handling information and tasks just like a real human employee would.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get an overview of what this AI employee can do. Then, we're going to peek inside its head and see how it thinks. We'll follow one task from start to finish, see how you stay in charge, cover its built-in security, and finally, look at how you can actually put this thing to work. Okay, so first up, let's zoom out and get the big picture of this system. What are the fundamental building blocks that really make this digital employee tick?
The heart of the system, what the creator calls the bronze tier, which is the foundational, totally local version, is built from these key parts. It uses an Obsidian Vault for its memory, kind of like its long-term knowledge base. It has a file watcher that acts like its eyes, always looking for new work. The brain is the Claude Code model. And the whole thing operates using a simple folder structure for its workflow, carries out tasks with what are called agent skills, and has an orchestrator making sure everything runs smoothly. And of course, it keeps a detailed log of everything it does.
All right, let's get into the really cool part. How does this thing actually think? Well, it really comes down to two central components that work together, a lot like our own memory and a brain. So on one side, you have the memory. That's the Obsidian Vault. This is where all the AI's knowledge lives. You can think of it as its office, complete with a company handbook that defines all the rules and a dashboard to track what it's working on. And on the other side, you've got the brain, the Claude Code model. This is the engine that actually does the thinking. It reads the handbook, it understands a new task, and then it decides which tools or agent skills it needs to use to get the job done.
So what can this AI employee actually do? Well, its core skills, at least for now, boil down to three main things. It can process the inbox, which means sorting and handling any new files that come in. It can update its own dashboard, so it's always keeping you in the loop on its progress. And it can act as a vault manager, basically doing general cleanup to keep its digital office nice and tidy. Okay, so we know the different parts, but how do they all work together? The best way to really get this is to follow a single task as it moves through the entire system, from beginning to end.
It all starts right here. The whole process kicks off the very moment you drop a new file, could be anything, into a specific folder called the inbox. That's the trigger. That's what tells your digital employee, hey, it's time to get to work.
And who sees that new file first? The file system watcher. You can think of this thing as a vigilant gatekeeper. It's constantly monitoring that inbox folder 24/7. The absolute second a new file shows up, it springs into action.
Now the watcher is smart. It doesn't try to do the work itself. Its job is just triage. It takes that new file, creates a little action item for it, and then moves it into the /needs action folder. This is basically like putting a new task on the AI's to-do list.
And this is when the brain gets involved. Claude Code picks up that new action file. It then goes to its memory, the company handbook inside the Obsidian Vault, to figure out the rules for this kind of task. Based on what it reads, it decides how important the task is, and then it uses its process inbox skill to get it done.
And here's the final step. Once the task is finished, the file gets moved over to the Done folder. But it doesn't just stop there, which is really cool. The AI then uses its Update Dashboard skill to report back on its work, giving you a real-time view of everything it's accomplished.
Okay, an AI that works all on its own sounds amazing. But it also brings up a pretty big question, right? How do you make sure that you are still the one in charge? Well, this system has a really clever answer for that. It's called the human-in-the-loop pattern, or HIL for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a safety brake that's built right into the system. For any sensitive action, we're talking deleting a file, sending an email, anything like that, the AI is programmed to stop and ask for your permission first. It literally cannot move forward without you saying so.
And this workflow shows you exactly how you stay in charge. So when the AI gets to a sensitive task, it creates a request and puts it in a /pending_approval folder. Then the whole process just pauses. It waits for you. To get things going again, you, the human, have to physically move that file into either the /approved folder to let it proceed, or into the /rejected folder to just cancel the action. You always have the final say.
And this whole idea of keeping you in control, it's baked right into the core design of the system, which puts security and privacy above everything else.
And this right here is probably its most powerful security feature. The entire bronze tier system runs on your machine, your computer. In a world where most AI tools live in the cloud, that is a huge deal. It doesn't send your data anywhere, it doesn't need API keys, it doesn't connect to some external service. Your files and your information stay with you, period.
And on top of being fully local, there are all these other layers of protection built right in. It defaults to a dev mode, so it can't actually take any real-world actions by mistake. There's also a dry run mode that just simulates what it would do without actually doing it. Every single action is logged, so you have a complete audit trail. And it's designed to never store or track your sensitive credentials.
So you might be wondering, is this thing actually reliable? How do we know it works? Well, check this out. The project has 64 different unit and integration tests that have all passed. That one number tells you a lot about the quality control here, making sure that every little piece and the system as a whole works exactly like it's supposed to.
So after all of that, if you're thinking, wow, I kind of need one of these, let's talk about what it actually takes to get your own digital employee up and running.
It's actually designed to be pretty straightforward. It's just 5 steps. You clone the project from its repository. You install the packages it needs using UV, which is a super fast Python package manager. You configure a couple of settings, and then you just run the main orchestrator script. And that's it, you're in business. Just start dropping files into that inbox and watch your new employee get to work.
And that really brings us to the final and most exciting question of all. If you had a tireless, intelligent digital assistant ready to take on your most boring, repetitive tasks, what's the very first thing you'd have it do? Would you have it sort your downloads? Organize your receipts? The possibilities here are really only limited by our imagination.